Hello beauties, hope you're doing fantastic. Shaz here, and we are doing another to buy or not to buy video. In these videos I talk about new makeup that's releasing or that has recently released, and I try to talk myself out of buying anything on camera. Hopefully in the process I can inspire you to also say no to as many of these as you can. Opt instead for the makeup that you already own. We don't need so much makeup. The world does not need so much makeup. If that sounds good, go ahead and give this video a thumbs up, and let's jump into the video. Friends, we have coffee. Candle is peppermint frost because we're kind of getting to the end of winter, although it's been kind of summery for quite a while here in Austin. And today for our eyeshadow look, we're going to use the dupe of Fairy Tale Europe from Nomad Cosmetics. You all wanted me to dupe this, and I did. There are some extra shades here, so it looks like it has more shades than the palette. Of course, I always give you some alternative shades. And actually, the first thing I should talk about is this palette, because last to buy or not to buy that I did was when this palette hadn't fully revealed yet. But now that it has, I can tell you that clearly I opted for duping, if for no other reason, particularly because it had a row of neutrals, and I have way more neutrals in my already existing palettes that I could have used to dupe this than I will probably ever need in my lifetime. Also, beauties, Nomad palettes are not magnetic this year, and perhaps for the foreseeable future. I'm not buying any more non-magnetic palettes because they just are likely never going to be used. So if you're a brand out there, keep that in mind. I'm sure I'm not the only person who thinks this. Another thing that I have not talked about is this beautiful DD Signature palette. I think I might have briefly talked about it, but not exactly. This is the second Chromebook palette. If you all remember, last year they had a Chromebook 1, and this launched yesterday. Well, from the day that I'm filming. And it looks gorgeous. In all honesty, if it had magnetic pans, I would consider, but I could not find any information on magnetic pans. So, passing. Another 3 palettes that I kind of saw and did a double take just to see what these are these 3 from Notoriously Morbid. Beautiful palettes, but not magnetic. So it ain't happening. And in fact, beauties, you're gonna see in the video where I'm gonna tell you what shades I've used in this palette. I used a lot of shades from one palette from ColourPop here. All the ColourPop palettes are magnetic, and that's the reason why. I'm telling you all, opt for buying magnetic palettes, because if you have magnetic palettes, you can just keep reusing them, making your own palettes. You don't need to go buy everything that's releasing. This beautiful Artitude Cosmetic palette is restocked. Gorgeous, gorgeous palette. I loved it when it released because I'm all about these kinds of foresty shades. But guess what? Now I know that I can probably dupe this. Although Artitude is definitely a brand I want to try at some point. I want to try their quality. I hear they have fantastic quality, but magnetic palettes, please. They are going to restock Urban Neutrals, Vintage Neutrals, and Metamorph palette. I have a dupe of Metamorph palette. I think I promised to you all to dupe Vintage Neutral also, and I never got to dupe that. If you all still want me to dupe it, right below. There are so many duping requests from you all, and I'm trying to keep up, but I'm looking for jobs, so that kind of takes precedence. Something has to pay the bills. Clearly this video and this channel isn't. Y'all, we have a $2 Tuesday from a Copacetic. Do I know what Tuesday this is? I don't know if this is every Tuesday or just certain Tuesdays where shadows are $2, but these shadows are going to be available for $2. Now, I don't need more singles than I already own, but I can definitely vouch for Copacetic singles. I love them. I've featured a whole lot of them in my videos, and if they have another sale, which I'm sure they will, I'm definitely considering picking a few things up. Unearthly, everybody, is dropping shadowed petal palette, beautiful 9-pan. Is that a matte black? In some photos it looks like a matte black, in some photos it looks like a very, very deep burgundy. Hopefully it's a deep burgundy. Beautiful palette, $32 for 9 pans, everybody. No, I'm not doing that. But Unearthly's pans were magnetic in the past, so I think they still are if this is your thing. It's just that you don't need this either. $32, y'all, for 9 shades, some of which you might already own, and one of which could be black. Now I think I remember why I opted out of duping vintage neutrals. I think I thought, and I might have even said it in one of my videos, that it looks too much like that palette from Beauty Bay, the one that released last summer. Don't remember the name, but I have a dupe of it. I'll tag the dupe for you all. Beautiful palette, and I love that dupe. There are a few things dropping from Cathy Cosmetics. I saw this. I don't think this is a pre-made palette. If you know differently, educate me. Is this just a magnetic palette? I think this is just a magnetic palette that you can buy, and then you can buy singles from Cathy to put in there. Cathy is definitely a brand I'm sort of watching. Again, priority goes to the ones that have single shadows or prioritize single shadows and that have magnetic pans. But if this is a large palette pre-filled with 50 singles, I could be interested. I mean, these kinds of things are great when you don't have anything from the brand, and I don't have anything from the brand. Of course, depends on the price. So we'll see. Divina evidently is dropping some neutrals, and y'all, now that we're talking about Divina, I must say I try to only use my Divina shades for the shimmers in Chamonix palette that I just duped for you all. I posted the dupe recently, the Nomad palette, because I like Divina shades and I feel like a lot of them are pretty underrated. And yeah, I would definitely check these out. Not picking up though right now because I have a lot of singles as is, and I want to first prioritize brands that I've never used so that I can develop an opinion of them. But if there is a sale down the road, you never know. Let me get started on the look. For this one, I'm gonna use Glam Shop's base. Using a random assortment of my brushes. I'm gonna take this one, E06 from Singe. I'm going into this shade. If you're somebody who has to combine mattes and shimmers for most of your looks, which is someone like me, and the mattes in a palette are all neutral, there are limitations in the types of looks you can do with that palette. And let's continue with Singe. I'm using E01 and going back into this shade for my lower lash line. I don't know if you can hear that, but that's the wind out my window. Yes, it's that windy here in Austin right now. Adept Cosmetics has already sneak peeked their next palette. This one is gorgeous. It looks very similar though to the collab they did with Amy Loves Makeup. Or is it just me that thinks that? Like, if you remove a few of those green tealy shades, does it not look that similar? This is the Emo palette, and it drops March 21st, which is in a few days. And palette prices have gone up, beauties, with every brand. This is $72. Again, you don't need this. You can definitely dupe this. I know I can definitely dupe this. Let me know if you want me to dupe this or any of the palettes we've talked about in the comments below, so I know I'm not picking up because I can dupe. But if you absolutely want to pick it up, no judgment there, just use someone's code and get some money off. A lot of times in the past, Adept, because I have a lot of products from Adept, they used to send a 20% off around the time a palette was releasing. So if you're on their mailing list, you can check your email out. Maybe they've sent you something so that you don't even need to use any other code. You can just use their own code. And we also have this one from Shall We Makeup. This is an all matte palette and very visibly it's magnetic. Kudos Shall We Makeup. In the description it says that they have 8 mattes in this palette and 2 matte lick mattes. Not sure what that means. If you know, let the rest of us know. Maybe that means kind of satiny. You know, some of these mattes are a lot more wet, but they're still matte. Although this is a 99% neutral, I like that there is a red. I don't have a lot of reds, y'all, so I'm always on the lookout for reds. Not that I'm gonna go buy this palette, but if I don't have it, that means it's not produced as often and it's not available as often. Otherwise I would have bought it. So when I see them in palettes, I'm like, I see you. Like there are 2 releases with this one. This one is the first one, which is a bit more cool toned. And then this one is the second one, which is more warm toned. I'm looking to see, I don't think any of this is magnetic. Cute palettes, but I can do both of these. But I like that there is a nice combination of shimmers and mattes and that they have sort of done a divide that kind of makes sense. So if you're not into certain color families, you can pick one or the other. Pat McGrath, everybody, is now releasing more colorful stuff. This is their mothership. I don't even know what number. You all know they've literally released, I want to say 10 of this, maybe even more. I think maybe it's number 12. Petalmorphosis is the name of this palette for a whopping $128. I can guarantee you that with a combination of your Sydney Graces and Cleonas or Terra Moons, or insert whatever extremely high quality multichrome brand you want, you can pick up dupes for this palette with the total coming to less than $128, not to mention tax. And you can probably even do it on a sale and get some money off on other people's codes. I mean, no judgment if you absolutely have to have this, but please don't get lured to drop $128. Let's just call it $130, because we all know with taxes and shipping and all of that, it's gonna be more than that. Don't get lured into paying $130 just because somebody online tells you this is a fabulous palette. Are you gonna use these shades, particularly that a lot of people don't use greens? Let's continue with this look. I'm going to use specular for my inner area, and I'm going to try to do a very simple look. And frankly, what I'm going to do is going to be kind of neutrally, and is probably going to be a type of look that I would wear to work. Now I recognize not everybody feels comfortable even wearing this kind of thing to work. But this is going to be my version of a neutral. This bottom row, which actually this is going to be like that. So this top row is shades that I recommend as alternative, but for me this is what I would do in a dupe for this palette. However, I'm going to use one of these alternative shades. This is Aureate from Cleona. It released in their holiday countdown box 2024, so very recently, and I want to use this because this is actually going to be released again from Cleona soon. And before I get to mention the Cleona release, I have a full video unboxing, swatches and everything for this collection. So if you want to see swatches of everything that was in this countdown box, I'm going to tag for you all that video. You can see it's a gorgeous sort of a cool toned gold. Let me tell you all what are releasing. These release on March 18th. Everything in that countdown box that I mentioned, again, video tagged. So we have 10 multichrome shades of their stained glass collection, and there were 2 quads in that countdown box. I swatched both of them. If you want any of these, you all know I love Cleona, so what can I say? What can I say? They are also releasing a few nail polishes. You all know I also love Cleona nail polishes. I know there are 4 of them that are releasing as a new collection, and a 5th one that they did in memory of their grandmother Pearl. And they're also restocking a few of their circular pans. I also love Clionadh circular pans. I've featured a lot of them in my collection, in my dupings, like over here. This is Filigree, a gorgeous, gorgeous metallic, light lavender metallic shade. And now that we're talking about nail polishes, let me also quickly mention what I'm wearing. This is, I had it right here somewhere, Full Scream Ahead from Mooncat. This is a gorgeous, gorgeous, very holochromatic looking. I don't think they advertise this as holochromatic, but it kind of looks holochromatic to me, and absolutely stunningly gorgeous. I'm waiting, y'all, for Mooncat to have a sale. There are a few more things, so let's go through them fast. Cryptane Cosmetics, everybody. We already talked about the gigantic palette that I wasn't sure whether it's just a magnetic palette or it's going to have shades in it. But they're also releasing Secret Garden palette. Evidently, this palette is releasing in 2 editions, so a cool toned and a warm toned. And frankly, that warm tone, some of the shades in that warm tone palette looks really, really nice. But I can dupe. I can totally dupe. Cryptane is a brand I would like to try, but I think what I'm going to try from them are going to be their special single shades. While I think this look is complete as is, I would like to pizzazz it a little bit up by adding a little bit of warmth here. Now, there were things I could do. I could add a little bit of maybe warm mattes, but I'm thinking this beautiful red, and I can already tell you this is from El Barrio palette of Terra Moons, because I tried to use as many Terra Moons as I could for duping this one, which is part of the reason why I didn't opt for Aureate and instead picked a Terra Moons alternative. This is by Lar. Gorgeous red with duochrome reddish deep coralish with a shift of gold, and I want to just dab a little bit of this here. I just thought the spring is coming. Let's make this a little more floral and springy. Beauties, I completed the look off camera. I used a few things. Let me quickly talk about them. The Falsies Surreal from Maybelline and this Cathy doll lip and cheek, I believe. Yes, lip and cheek nude matte tint in the shade Maroon Pink. A friend sent me this. This is one of those Asian beauty brands. She brought it from Taiwan. I like it, and I love the shade. As you can see, it's very appropriate for this time of the year. And let's go over the last item. Can you guess? Yes, beauties, we just used Terra Moons. And they're dropping the Pastel Umbra collection. We know that Terra Moons drops new collections based on the movement of the moon, and we're going into the spring equinox. So makes sense that they're dropping new things, particularly pastels, because those are the colors of spring. Now, I'm not a pastel lover, but when I looked at some of these mattes, I was like, yeah, I could definitely get behind the maroon one, the blue one, the yellow one. I have quite a few mattes from Terra Moons. They have a very creamy matte quality that I very much like, so totally could see myself pick some of these up. I have Just a Phase, and is it Terraverse? Just a Phase is their already existing teal matte, and I don't know if it's Terraverse, but I think that's the name of their pink matte, and I already have those, so I could skip on some of these shades. And of course, I'm not going to pick up a matte black. And then with the other ones, you never know, I could possibly pick something up if I feel like I don't have a dupe for them. Again, a Priority Beauties is going to things that I'm not gonna have a dupe of already, because it makes no sense to have multiple of the same exact or the close enough shade. These dropped yesterday, so they're already available at the time you're seeing this video. And again, beauties, I'm not gonna go pick these up at launch, which will already happened, but everything I'm picking up is probably gonna wait until I have a job and until the brand has some form of a sale or a discount. And with that, beauties, we come to the end of this video. If you enjoyed this video or these kinds of videos, you can wait a little bit, because my whole playlist of these kinds of videos is going to be recommended to you on the screen. But before you leave, don't forget to write to me in the comments below if you manage to talk yourself out of buying anything, if you instead opted for duping some of these. I would love to hear from you. Figure out what you're duping. Maybe I should dupe a few of them. If you want me to dupe any palettes that I talked about, request it in the comments below. I love you all. Have an awesome day and awesome week. And until next time, bye.